A Journey Through the United Kingdom. James Wilson was a 17-year-old student from a small town in England. He enjoyed reading books about history and geography, but he had never travelled far from home. His English teacher often told the class that learning about a country was not only about reading facts, it was also about understanding its people, culture, and daily life. One day, the teacher announced an important school project. "Students," she said, "you must write a report about the United Kingdom. However, I do not want you to copy information from books or the internet. I want you to learn from real experiences." James listened carefully. He wanted to do well on the project, but he did not know where to begin. After class, he spoke with his teacher. "Miss Taylor," he said, "how can I learn about the United Kingdom if I cannot travel everywhere?" His teacher smiled. "Sometimes opportunities arrive when we least expect them. Keep your eyes open." James thought about her words during the journey home. A few days later, something unexpected happened. His grandfather visited the family for dinner. During the meal, James mentioned the school project. His grandfather looked at him and smiled. "When I was young," he said, "I travelled across the United Kingdom. I visited England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Those journeys taught me many important lessons." James became interested. "Grandad, what was the most important lesson?" "The United Kingdom is not only a place on a map," his grandfather replied. "It is a collection of people, stories, and traditions." Then he reached into his coat pocket and handed James an envelope. "What is this?" James asked. "A gift," his grandfather said. "Open it." Inside the envelope were train tickets and a note. The note said, "Travel through the United Kingdom. Meet people. Listen to their stories. Then you will understand what this country truly is." James could hardly believe it. His grandfather had arranged a journey for him during the school holidays. "You can stay with some old friends of mine," his grandfather explained. "They live in different parts of the UK." James felt excited and nervous at the same time. "Thank you, Grandad. I will do my best." His grandfather nodded. "I know you will." The first destination was London. James arrived early in the morning. The city was much larger than he had imagined. People walked quickly through busy streets. Red buses moved through traffic. Tall, modern buildings stood beside old historical landmarks. His grandfather's friend, Mr. Harris, met him at the station. "Welcome to London, James," he said. "Thank you, sir. Please call me Peter." During the next few days, Peter showed James many famous places. They visited Buckingham Palace, the Houses of Parliament, museums and parks. One afternoon, they sat beside the River Thames. "What do you think of London?" Peter asked. "It is amazing," James replied. "There are so many people from different countries." Peter nodded. "That is one of London's strengths. People come here from all over the world. They bring different ideas, cultures, and experiences." James watched families, tourists, and workers walking along the river. "It feels like the whole world is here." "In many ways, it is," Peter said. That evening, they discussed life in the city. "Is it always this busy?" James asked. Peter laughed. "Most of the time. Sometimes city life can be stressful. People work hard and move quickly. However, there are also many opportunities." James understood what he meant. London was a place of history, diversity, and ambition. Before James left, Peter gave him a notebook. "Write down everything you learn," he said. "You may forget details, but you will always remember how people made you feel." James thanked him and continued his journey. His next stop was Edinburgh in Scotland. As the train travelled north, the scenery changed. The hills became larger and the landscape looked more dramatic. When James arrived, he immediately noticed the beautiful stone buildings and the famous castle overlooking the city. He stayed with an elderly couple named Robert and Margaret. At dinner, Robert asked, "What brings you to Scotland?" "I am learning about the United Kingdom," James replied. "Then Scotland is an excellent place to visit," Margaret said with a smile. The next day, Robert took James on a walk through the city. As they climbed a hill, James admired the view. "It is beautiful," he said. "You may forget details, but you will always remember how people made you feel." James thanked him and continued his journey. His next stop was Edinburgh in Scotland. As the train travelled north, the scenery changed. The hills became larger, and the landscape looked more dramatic. When James arrived, he immediately noticed the beautiful stone buildings and the famous castle overlooking the city. He stayed with an elderly couple named Robert and Margaret. At dinner, Robert asked, "What brings you to Scotland?" "I am learning about the United Kingdom," James replied. "Then Scotland is an excellent place to visit," Margaret said with a smile. The next day, Robert took James on a walk through the city. As they climbed a hill, James admired the view. "It is beautiful," he said. "Yes," Robert replied. "Scotland has many beautiful places. We are very proud of our history and culture." They visited museums and historical sites. During one visit, James asked Robert an important question. "What does being Scottish mean to you?" Robert thought carefully before answering. "It means respecting our traditions while also looking toward the future." James wrote down those words. That evening, they sat by a fireplace. Margaret served tea while rain fell outside. "My grandparents told me many stories," she said. "Stories help us remember who we are." James listened with great interest. He realized that history was not only about dates and events. It was also about people and their memories. When it was time to leave, Margaret hugged him. "You remind me of my grandson," she said kindly. James felt emotional. "Thank you for everything." "Take care of yourself," she replied. As the train departed, James looked back at the city and felt grateful for their kindness. His third destination was Cardiff in Wales. The city felt different from both London and Edinburgh. It was modern and lively, but it also had a strong connection to Welsh culture. James stayed with a family called the Evans family. They welcomed him warmly. At dinner, Mrs. Evans spoke both English and Welsh. James found this interesting. "You speak 2 languages?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "Many people in Wales do." "Is Welsh difficult to learn?" She laughed. "For some people, yes, but it is an important part of our identity." The following day, Mr. Evans took James to visit the countryside. They drove through green valleys and small villages. The scenery was peaceful. While walking near a hill, James asked, "What do you love most about Wales?" Mr. Evans smiled. "The people. We have a strong sense of community." "What does that mean?" "It means people support one another. When someone needs help, neighbours often come together." James thought about this. In modern life, people were often busy. However, community remained important. Later that week, James attended a local event. People sang songs, shared food, and spent time together. Everyone seemed friendly. An elderly woman started a conversation with him. "Are you enjoying Wales?" "Very much," James replied. "Good. Remember that a country is more than its buildings. It is its people." James smiled because he had heard similar words before. Perhaps everyone understood this truth. When he left Cardiff, he felt that he had gained many new friends. The final part of his journey took him to Belfast in Northern Ireland. James had read about Northern Ireland in history books. He knew that the region had experienced difficult times in the past. However, he wanted to understand what life was like today. He stayed with a young journalist named Sarah. On his first evening, they walked through the city centre. "What do you think of Belfast?" Sarah asked. "It feels welcoming," James replied. "I am glad to hear that." As they walked, Sarah explained some of the city's history. "There were years of conflict," she said quietly. "I learned about that in school. History is important, but so is the future." James noticed the serious expression on her face. "Do people still think about those difficult times?" "Yes," Sarah replied. "Many families remember them, but most people want peace and understanding." The next day, Sarah introduced James to several local residents. One man owned a small cafe. Another worked as a teacher. A woman ran a bookshop. Although their backgrounds were different, they shared similar hopes. They wanted good lives for their families. They wanted opportunities for young people. They wanted peace. One evening, James sat with Sarah beside the river. The sun was setting, and the water reflected the orange light. "What have you learned during your journey?" Sarah asked. James thought carefully. "In London, I learned about diversity." Sarah nodded. "In Scotland, I learned about tradition." "Good." "In Wales, I learned about community." "And here?" James looked around. "I learned about hope." Sarah smiled. "That is an important lesson." When the journey ended, James returned home. His parents were eager to hear about his experiences. At dinner, his mother asked, "What was your favourite place?" James laughed. "That is impossible to answer." "Why?" his father asked. "Because every place taught me something different." His grandfather smiled knowingly. "Tell us what you learned." James took a deep breath. "I learned that the United Kingdom is made up of 4 nations. Each nation has its own culture, traditions, and history." Everyone listened carefully. "London showed me how different people can live and work together." His grandfather nodded. "Scotland taught me the importance of remembering the past." "Very good," his grandfather said. "Wales showed me the value of community and friendship." "And Northern Ireland?" his mother asked. James smiled. "It taught me that hope is stronger than fear." His family remained silent for a moment. Then his grandfather spoke. "You understand now?" "Yes," James replied. "The United Kingdom is not only about famous buildings, kings, queens, or historical events." "What is it about?" his grandfather asked. "It is about people." His grandfather smiled proudly. "Exactly." Several weeks later, James stood in front of his class to present his project. Many students spoke about statistics, geography, and historical facts. James included those details too, but he also shared stories. He talked about Peter in London, He described Robert and Margaret in Scotland. He told the class about the Evans family in Wales. He spoke about Sarah and the people he met in Belfast. When he finished, the classroom was quiet. Finally, Miss Taylor smiled. "Excellent work, James. Thank you. You did not simply learn about the United Kingdom, you understood it." James felt proud. The journey had changed him. He had met people from different backgrounds and regions. He had listened to their experiences. He had learned that every person carried a unique story. As he left school that day, he thought about the future. There were still many places to visit and many people to meet. The United Kingdom was full of stories waiting to be discovered. And now James understood something very important. A country is not defined only by its borders, cities, or history books. A country is defined by the people who live there, care for it, and work to build a better future. That lesson would stay with him for the rest of his life.